So yeah, we'll just
we'll just
continue from where we had stopped. So I'll just ask my question again. So is there any body with which I need to register in order to practice being a psychologist?
So as I was saying that there are certain associations or organizations where psychologists can be part of. However, these are not necessary that you have to be part of these organizations to be able to practice, right? See, earlier we did not have a lot of, we did not have a regulatory body to look into psychological practice. But with the recent Mental Health Act that has come up in 2017, the government has given certain directions in terms of who can be called a mental health professional, right? So for it very clearly states that in order to be a mental health professional and someone with again a background in psychology, they have to have completed their masters in an area of specialization in psychology from a recognized university or a college affiliated to a recognized university. So their degree has to be from a university, right? And it has to be in the relevant field of psychology. So say counseling or applied or health and so on. So they have clearly indicated this. And this degree has to be completed through a regular mode and not through a distance mode. So this is one of the basic criteria for being called a mental health professional. I'm also expecting that as we, slowly, with time, the government may come up with, a regulatory body where all psychologists may have to register themselves. Again, in line with what we have in a lot of Western countries, because this Mental Health Act also has included how mental health services can be part of the insurance. So I'm definitely expecting a lot of change to happen in that. So if there are any one of you who is probably pursuing or wanting to pursue psychology right now and they are in the 11th, 12th or undergrad, maybe in some years that will definitely come up. So, as of now, it would be great if, it's basically that you need to be someone who has completed a master's degree from a recognized university.
Right? Actually, I have another question that is kind of substituted to this, and I have been getting a lot of queries from people who had their education, let us say their undergrad, their degree in some other field, and now they want to take up their masters in psychology. Will they also be treated as a mental health professional?
Okay. So as I said, the criteria for a mental health professional is that you have to complete your masters in all of these from a recognized university. Now, if the university allows people to apply in those courses and you're able to complete those courses, then definitely you will be called a mental health professional. Yes, you may not be starting at the same level as someone who's already completed an undergrad in psychology. So you may have to put a little more effort towards catching up with the others and so on, the kind of experience that they may have had in the past 2 or 3 years. But I think, pursuing a career in psychology is not a race of any kind. Everyone has their own specific journeys. Each individual has their own strength in what they can bring to the field of psychology and what they can bring to any individual that they're working with as a psychologist. So, and another thing that we have to keep in mind with psychology is that this field requires a lot of upgradation of skills and learning. You cannot be someone who has completed their degree and then say that, now I'm not going to learn anymore and this is it. Because there's going to be a lot of changes in the way, in the, theories, in the therapies, in the intervention that are coming up. There's extensive research that's being conducted. And that will definitely, an understanding of all of that, an understanding of newer techniques will definitely make you a more effective psychologist. So, just keeping yourself updated about all of this information, learning new skills or techniques that are being, used in for certain specific groups of people, this is something that you would definitely have to do as a psychologist. So, that is something that will again be a lifelong journey. So, you'll have to constantly do that. And someone who's able to do that for a longer period of time will, again, as I said, would, make a very good an effective psychologist. So that is something that we have to keep in mind, not just the past and so on. And at the end of the day, if you're truly motivated in psychology to pursue a career in psychology, then yes, you may have started off from a different path, but then you have come on to that, and then you can definitely keep working towards your goals in psychology. So
that is like a one big doubt that has been cleared, and a lot of people would ask me that. So I think even their doubts are cleared now. My next question is, a lot of students have very keen interest in psychology. They want to learn more, they want to know more. So are there any kind of, psychological groups or associations that the students can be a part of, through which they can, learn new skills, or, interact with other like-minded people, or maybe even get a mentor?
uh, so as I was saying earlier also, there are a lot of associations, again at the national level, at the state level, and so on, regional level as well, that different psychologists have come together and formed these associations. And these associations are always very encouraging of students, who want to be part of that. So what they do is that the first step in making it easier for students to be part of this organization is that they really have reduced membership fees for the students.
Great.
And they make the process also easier, as if you are actually pursuing a course in psychology, then what they do is that they make it easier for you to become a student member of that particular organization. So that becomes, definitely helps you, because then what happens is that you have access to a lot of information about the kind of activities that are happening over there. They share their newsletters and so on. Then a lot of these organizations also conduct their conferences. Some of them may be annual, some of them may be once in 2 years, and so on. So they are constantly working in the field. So again, you can participate in all of these conferences, in these seminars, in these workshops, and then get to interact with people who are actually in the field. These could be academicians as well, or these could be people who are practicing privately and so on. Again, in all of the different specializations that we may have in India. And you will find that once you go there and you start talking to people, again, they are very encouraging of young students of psychology. So just that, first of all, the first thing is that if you attend any of these seminars and conferences and workshops, you are learning something, and then you will be able to see who are the experts in that particular field. And then once you realize, oh, you are interested in one very specific area, then you can always go and talk to the individual who has probably taken up their session, and get to know more about them. And again, see, mentoring someone, it depends. It's an individual choice. I may be open to mentoring someone. There may be another psychologist who may not have the time right now at this point of time to be able to give to mentor someone, but they may be willing to do that, or they may connect you to someone else. So again, you will have to ask a question to specific individuals. But because these associations open up, the opportunity to talk to different professionals in psychology, what will happen is that you will definitely, there is chance of finding a mentor over there. So you can definitely do that. Just one thing to keep in mind is that there are a number of associations, again, as I said, at different levels. If it's not possible for you to be part of the national or the state level organizations, you can always be part of the regional level organizations. Just check who are the members of these organizations, who are part of the board, who constitute the board. What is their affiliation like? Because a lot of times some people may start some organizations, some associations for certain other purpose, with certain other hidden agenda, and you may not get exactly what you're looking for through those associations. So what you can do is, a good place to start is that everyone will definitely have their website. So log onto their website, see who are the members of the board, and what you can see is their affiliation. So a lot of them may have been, some of them may be affiliated to some recognized universities and institutes, and that will give you an understanding of, okay, people from reputed universities are willing to be part of this organization. So this could be something that could be trustworthy, and I can be part of that as well, because any kind of knowledge that I get, any kind of information that I get will be authentic, and I will be guided correctly in psychology. So this is something that you can definitely look at. You can always, write to them and find out more about them. But yeah,
I think that's a very valid issue also that you've raised. Once certain area starts to get a lot of, recognition, or you feel there's a lot of scope, you have, fly by the night organization that may come up and kind of, as you mentioned, with certain hidden agendas. So I think it's good for students to always do a bit of a background check, as Swati mentioned, and Google is always there at your disposal to help you. Can you just name one or two, organizations to kind of it will be like a tip for the students, so they can start searching through them, and if they want to be a part of those associations or not.
So as I was saying, at the national level, you have the National Association of Psychologists, NAOP. You have the Indian Association of Applied Psychologists, IAAP. Another organization called IACP, which is for clinical psychologists, will only give membership to people who are pursuing courses in clinical psychology.
Okay.
So, that may be something for future. I can talk about, say, you have the Bombay Psychological Association in Mumbai. You have in Hyderabad, you have the Hyderabad Counseling Association as well. That has been started by faculty member of Usmania University. So again, that is reputed, and there are people who associate with that, are thorough professionals in psychology. So just to give you examples of a couple of such organizations.
And rest all, I think once you start searching, you will have more information.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you always, I'm sure Calcutta, I'm sure Bangalore and Madras University, and their local, there could be local bodies as well. That have some faculty members from these universities who have been working, in the city, in the area of psychology. So you should definitely find more about them through a quick Google search.
Yes. Right? Yeah. I'm kind of done with all the specific psychology-based questions. Now I have very generalized questions. So my penultimate question is, what are the current trends that we are seeing in the area of psychology? And I don't mean with respect to psychology as a career, but generally, what are the trends that we are getting to see in psychology?
As I said, because psychology as a field, because it deals with human beings, and we are always going to be around, and so whatever changes happens in an existing field, human beings are going to be part of that, or at the end of it, it's there to cater to human needs. Psychological phenomena or understanding will definitely help us and can work in that particular field, right? So you have however, having said that, I feel that there are certain areas, again I'm saying keeping in mind the Indian setup, there are certain areas where earlier you would not see a lot of psychologists, but now you are seeing a spurt in the demand for psychologists in this particular area. So if you're thinking about a specialization in any kind of specialization, you can definitely look at these fields. So you have the health industry is definitely growing. However, earlier there would not be a lot of psychologists that you would see over there. So field of health psychology is something that would definitely be coming up in a big way, because the way the medical fraternity is also becoming very open to working with psychologists to understand, to bring about a change, because now we understand that human beings' health is not just a medical phenomena, but it's also coming from a psychological. There are certain psychological factors that also play a big role in that. So working with psychologists to get a better understanding of people's health problems and to bring a change in their behavior so that they remain healthy, they adapt more healthy behaviors. So that is definitely coming up, and you'll find a lot of, particularly the corporate hospitals are really starting off to hire psychologists. Right? Then you have a lot of schools. Now, again, when it comes to schools, again, all of us know that the education sector is definitely growing, but what happens within school is that there could be different aspects of, again, psychology. So you have educational psychology, you have school psychology, you have a career psychologist as well. All of these different specializations within psychology can be applied in a school setup or an educational setup. So this is also something that you could think about. And again, another is in India is the industrial and organizational psychology. So again, we did have, even earlier, even now we have a lot of counselors who could be working in the corporate world, but now the corporates are also open to understanding psychological factors with human factors that could be playing a role at the organization level and trying to incorporate and understand that and bring about changes at that level. So for that, not just a background in counseling psychology, but if you have a specialization in, as I said, industrial or organization psychology, that could be something that could be useful. You have again specializations such as managerial or management psychology and so on. Occupational health psychology, that is again something that certain specific industries may be looking at. So this is also something that can be pursued, right? Besides that, if you think about in terms of technology, what is happening is that
Hmm.
there is change in the way technology is helping you deliver certain psychological services. It's not bringing
Okay.
about a change in how the actual psychological service is being provided. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. So, as I was saying, that what happens is that, when you think about, providing any kind of therapy or counseling. So earlier we always kept in mind that it has to be a one-on-one session that would really be effective, and then you have to meet the person
Yes.
in real life. Now again, with the current pandemic, we realize that there are people who definitely need some kind of psychological support, but it may not be possible to meet one-on-one. And this is something that is happening earlier as well, because also of the stigma surrounding accessing mental health services, that online counseling services is something a lot of people are more comfortable with, or people who may not have direct access to mental health services, maybe because they're coming from certain rural areas or smaller towns where they don't have specialists. They may approach mental health professionals who are in big, metro cities and so on, and get some kind of psychological help for them. So this is something that only the medium of delivery is changing. So what we are also finding is changes in, and we are also finding that there is a dearth of mental health professionals in India. So we need to have some kind of supportive services available for individuals, because we don't have access to so many counselors or therapists in India who can cater to everyone's mental health needs. So you'll probably hear about some kind of app that is providing therapy and so on, right? These apps cannot completely replace a therapist or a psychologist, right? I'm just giving a very basic, simple example. Like, if you have some kind of a problem with, say anything that you're purchasing, you're talking to a customer, you've called up a customer care number. They have automated a lot of these things, and then you will be directed through certain channels, and they will try to help you out with that problem. Now, if it is a basic, simple level problem, it could be resolved. But certain times, we really need to talk to an individual, a customer care executive, because our problem is unique. And I would really like to explain it to that particular individual and get a unique kind of specific solution to my problem. So, again, the same thing happens over there, that initiating, sometimes some apps may help people get started off on trying to access psychological services, because, they are hesitant to talk to a psychologist, or there is again, the greater level of anonymity, or they really want to just test the waters, or some kind of screening can happen at the initial level, and then it could help you go to a mental health professional later. Or these apps could be supportive in the sense that you're meeting the mental health professional once a week or once in 2 weeks, and on an everyday basis the app is providing you some kind of support service. Or after you've had therapy or counseling for some period of time, it's only for the follow-ups and so on, this app could really work out. So with again improvement in technology, we'll probably find a lot of variations and in the way these interventions could be developed through technology. But I don't think it will ever replace the role of a psychologist and what we can do as an individual, and the way we think and the way we are actually able to help someone out, that can never be replaced with technology, right? So that is something people don't have to worry about, that there will be some app that will replace a psychologist and the role that they could play in someone else's
There
life.
is a bot. Yeah, I think that was a very interesting way in which how technology can help and aid a psychologist in trying to deliver their services to people who are seeking mental health solutions. I think we are almost towards the end of our session, and my final question is, with the lockdown and the quarantine going on, a lot of students have a lot of free time with them. So can you suggest some books that they can read in order to develop their interest in psychology?
So again, I understand that not all of us are the kind of individuals who would like to read books, right? So if our goal is to gather more knowledge and understanding of psychology, then you could choose to read books. You could choose to watch a lot of TED Talks or a lot of videos that are available. You could have a lot of these podcasts as well, again delivering the similar kind of information, again for a different kind of medium. So you can always choose from among all of these things, right? So some of the books that I personally would recommend, for someone who has just an interest in psychology or human behavior, my personal favorite book that I recommend to a lot of people is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Now, this book is not a very long book, but yeah, it's definitely very interesting. A couple of other books that I would recommend would be Flow, and this book has been written by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Very difficult to pronounce name, but if you type Flow, this is the first name that will definitely come up. So he is the pioneer who's in the field of flow, right? You could also read a book called Thinking, Slow and Fast by Daniel Kahneman, who is a Nobel Prize winning psychologist. Right, great. There's a book on grit that's again extremely interesting because this is been written by Angela Duckworth, who's again being granted the Genius Award. So very interesting books. Besides this, you actually have a lot of courses. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Coursera, but if you haven't, Coursera also offers a lot of courses in psychology. Yes. Besides that, actually right now Yale has opened up a lot of their courses in psychology to people. Even outside. Harvard also has. So yes. You could definitely, and some of the more popular courses include courses on happiness, well-being, and so on. So you can definitely get started on those courses, right? So these are some things that you can definitely pursue. There are TED Talks on, say, again, as I said, on grit and so on. Procrastination is something that's very interesting, that you could always wonder if you are the kind of person who's always wondered why is that you always keep things for the end and keep delaying completing certain tasks. So these are certain areas in psychology that have books written on them, and then have courses, so you can definitely explore these options. Right?
I think I hope you all have made a note of it and will either watch a TED Talk or read a book and make good use of this time that you have got. We have one question here, and the question is from Alekhya Narayanam, and her question is it a must to study masters in psychology to start their career?
Okay. So as I said that, with an undergraduate degree in psychology, you will not have the in-depth knowledge or the training in certain skills that would be provided at a master's level. So, your knowledge level would be very, especially if you're talking about a career in psychology, right? So, that will only come with, greater, more courses and a master's degree. But if you're really not sure about which specialization that you would like to take up, what you can do is that after an undergrad degree, you can always pursue certain careers and see how well that fits in. So, I personally know a few students of mine. What they've done is that they were not sure about which area of specialization. So, they're open to some job opportunities. They did start working, say one of them started working in the corporate world. And after a year or so realized that, what, I'm sure that I would like to work in the corporate world. So then she was clear on I would like to then pursue a master's in industrial and organizational psychology, and I can take up a career in that and also the fact that 1 year of her experience in the corporate world really gave her different kind of insight into what she wanted from the course. And then once she joined that particular course, once she comes back, she has an experience, the theoretical knowledge and the training, and again, some background experience in that. Similarly, I've had students who worked, with children, children with special needs, and again realized that, what, they would like to work specifically with this group of this population. So, then they started to pursue their, master's courses in that particular area, of say child psychology, and then going on to again doing specialized courses in, how you can work with children who have learning disabilities and other special needs and so on. So, that again depends on how is that you would like to visualize your career. If you're really thinking about a career in psychology for the long term, just an undergrad degree in psychology will not really help you get far, right? Because you don't have the in-depth knowledge and the training, as I said. So, master's degree will definitely help you out with that. But you can always take your time in getting started on the master's course. I hope that helps you,
Alekhya. Yeah. So if anybody else has any question, you can please type it out in the chat box, and Dr. Swati will answer it for you. We have another 5 minutes with us. Okay. Yeah, great. I think her question has been answered. Anybody else?
Yeah, anyone else would like to ask some questions, get their doubts clarified? Again, if not now, you can always, you have your
Our
contact
email
information for Gandhi Knowledge Solutions. You can always reach out and get it clarified, because if this particular webinar has just given you a lot of food for thought and then makes you just reflect on what is it that you would like to do, whether you would like to pursue a career in psychology or not, we can always do that. If you are actually really unsure of what is it that you would want to do, psychology actually has helped us in this way, has developed a lot of tests, assessments to understand what are people's interests, what are their aptitudes, what is their personality like, and then putting it all together to understand whether what are the suitable career paths for them. So this is also an option available in because of psychology. So you can definitely utilize that and try to get an understanding of where our strengths, where our skill sets lie, and then use that to make a career choice. Because I just yes.
Yeah. So we have another question from Alekhya again.
Yes.
Her question is, can a psychologist make a diagnosis of a mental disorder, or can a psychiatrist only do that? I think that's a great question, Alekhya.
Yeah. So this again depends on which area of specialization are you coming from. So generally, when you're talking about working with individuals who may have psychiatric disorders, mental disorders, there would be individuals who have a specialization in clinical psychology. So right from the time that you're pursuing a course in clinical psychology, your training, your everything happens again in a setup. So there would be a lot of I'm not saying universities, but a lot of universities, there are a lot of hospitals that offer courses, master's courses in clinical psychology, where from the beginning itself you are working with psychiatrists in a psychiatric ward and so on, and then getting the knowledge and the skills to be able to work with people who have mental health disorders, and then diagnosis would be again a part of it. One advantage or one differentiation that you would have when it comes to making a diagnosis or working with people who have mental health disorders is a psychologist have at their disposal a number of psychological tests that a psychiatrist is not trained to do, because these are psychological tests. They're coming from psychological theory, right? So you would be trained in all of these psychological assessments as well. You may have heard of some of them. These are some projective tests. Again, a clinical psychologist would be trained to use them, such as the Rorschach blot test. You have the draw a person test, a lot of other projective techniques as well. So, a psychologist is able to use all of that and, work with individuals who may have psychiatric problems in, and working with them. And yeah, so, in terms of, as I said, you can, be trained to make a diagnosis. Only thing would be that you will not be able to prescribe any kind of medication to people who have mental disorders.
Alekhya, I hope that answers your question. Next, we have a question from Galaxy Grand Prime, and he's asking, can you please give the information in the form of some PDF file? Yeah, so basically, I don't think we can share this information because it was a general question that we were doing, but a recording of this will be put up on YouTube and maybe on Facebook. That will be done shortly. We'll see how that goes. But on PDF it won't be available. But Swati did mention some organizations and she mentioned some books. Maybe that will be shared after the session is over in the form of an email. We are already running short of time.
So one last quick question
from Ananya Karthikeyan. Is school psychology and child psychology similar?
Okay. So school psychology and child psychology, they may have some overlapping topics, but from the term itself, school psychology, you are trying to apply the understanding of knowledge of psychology in the setting of a school, right? On the other hand, a child has, in a child's life, there would be other areas as well. So when you're talking about child psychology, you would be looking at, his behavior, his life, factors influencing all of that from, in all the areas that the child would, have access to, would interact. So, in terms of how are they developing as children, what is their growth like, what are the developmental milestones and so on, how is their behavior in school and so on, the family dynamics, all of this could be could be studied. At the same time, you would also study disorders related to children in child psychology. School psychology is limiting in terms of the area. It's limited in scope in terms of the area in which psychology is being applied, only in a school setup. So again, in a school setup, then yes, you are trying to work with children. You might also look at children, how is that children function, children with some kind of disorders or some kind of disabilities and some kind of special needs can work in a school setup. You would also look into the dynamics in the school setup in terms of the teachers and the students and so on, the physical environment of the school, how that affects children. Even that could be considered. So there is some overlapping topics that you will definitely find, but as areas of specialization, these are two completely different ones.
Okay, I hope that answers question of Ananya. The next question is from Galaxy Grand Prime.
How do the school psychologists help children of people who may have ADHD? Right. So, so I'll have to get into some technical details and see if there is a child who may have been diagnosed with ADHD, right? So you will find that ideally they are working, the child will definitely need to give some kind of an intervention. The parents would also be included in this intervention, because again, what happens is that if the intervention is not limited to, the child goes to a therapist once a week, 2 times a week or 3 times a week, 1 hour, 2 hours, given some kind of intervention, and then it will definitely, work its magic through the rest of the week. What happens is that there are a lot of changes that have to be made in the environment, in how other people are also interacting with the child, that could really help the child, manage their ADHD. Even the parents manage the ADHD of the children, right? Yes. So the parents are also involved in the intervention process. Now, again, a child spends a long time in school, right? So what happens is that the school also need to be get involved at certain level. The teachers also need to be involved so that they are able to provide the right kind of support to this particular child. Because at the end of the day, the child's health is the most important over here, right? So all of them would work together. So if you do have a school psychologist in that particular school, what they do is that they also work with individuals, with children who may have been diagnosed with, say, ADHD, with some other kind of learning disorder and so on, dyslexia and so on, and then work with the parents, work with the teachers to see what could be the right kind of support for that particular child, right? And if any problems is arising because of that, then what are the changes that can be brought at a school level, right? So this is something that a school psychologist can definitely do. But again, it depends from individual to individual, how this particular child, what is the diagnosis like, how is manifesting their behavior, and what kind of intervention that particular child requires, school's resources, everything put together, and then it's decided. But yeah, the school psychologist will definitely provide a lot of supportive help in that regard, right?
Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. I think you have done with the questions. I hope you were able to answer all your questions, all your doubts that you had, and this session you found it very informative.
Again, I would like to keep it open that if any one of you has any other questions, you can always send an email, and then we will get back to you with that. And
you can also send in a WhatsApp message if you want. Our number is 810-650-6340. We'll try to get back to you as quickly as we can. And I think we can wrap this session now. Thank you everyone for attending this. The next session that we are planning, the next career that we are going to take up is law. So if any of your friends, families, colleagues, children of your colleagues are interested in a career in law, so please tune in next week. We are planning a session on Wednesday, that is 6th of May. And Ms. Yasha Sharma, she is a lawyer. She's done her LLM, and currently she's also a civil judge in the state of UP and undergoing her training right now. So she will be there to answer all your questions. Yeah. that's about it. And we'll be sending out an email at the end of the session, after the session. Do feel free to give us your feedback. We'll be happy to hear from you, and it will just give us an opportunity to make these sessions more interactive, informative, and engaging. And we will also know how we can improve ourselves. You can also review us on Google. So if you just type Gargi Knowledge Solutions on the Google tab, you will have an option to review us. So just use your Google email ID, Gmail ID to leave a review for us. And yeah, thank you so much. We'll see you in the next session. Yeah. Bye, everyone. Have a good day. Stay safe.